first look at the 5 names. These are the 5 guys that'll be competing in this sequence on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We already introduced you to Dave Richards and Glen Shattuck for today's match. The winner today will move on to face our number 3 seed John Patorsky next week. Pat Pay, good to see Pat back in the lineup here on Stars and Strikes. It's been more than a couple of years for him. And Bob Kelly, our number 1 seed, almost lapping the field there by 33 pins, taking the number 1 spot. So there you have a look at the bowlers to come in this series on Stars and Strikes. But to get our very first match of the new year started, it's Dave Richards. And Dave doesn't waste any time.
No, that's for sure. 3, 6, 10 and right, plus the 4-pin. No wood to help him, and we're off. 1994.
And almost for Dave. Mentioned he's been with us a couple of times on Stars and Strikes doubles this season. The last time Dave was here in singles competition was for the 1992 Tournament of Champions. He came in as the number 2 seed and lost a very tough semifinal match to Mike Morgan, who that year, if you'll recall, came in as the number 4 seed for the tournament and zipped off 4 straight wins to win the title. And Dave Richards was one of his victims, 404 to 395.
He leaves that one to the right. Ball spinning, but didn't break at all for him. And he'll be open the first 2.
$19 it is for Dave. And now our very first look here on the wins at Glen Shattuck, guy that you're familiar with, Dan.
Absolutely. I've known Glenn for years. Glen's a pretty good athlete, no matter what he tries. So, and as I said at the beginning of the show, one of the bowlers that's been trying for a good number of years and finally made the show. Persistency.
Well, I think that applies to a lot of people who get on the show. And how about that to start it off?
Well, regardless what happens now, he can tell him the first box he threw in front of the lights was a spare. And a good one was that. At that, it was easy for me to say.
I know you're a little nervous with Glenn on the show.
Yeah, he's, carrying the Concord torch, Leaves himself the 5 and the 10. Tries to cut the 5.
It's interesting. Sometimes when folks come on the program for the first time, they tell us tales of how many years they've been trying to make it and how long it's been before they finally got here. And other times, I believe it was Bob Johnston earlier this year, said he had only tried maybe 4 or 5 times and he was able to finally crack through. So you never know. And I think that's the beauty of it. Is it's an open competition. Here on the singles program, of course, it's open men and women. And to this day, people still think there is an entry fee involved. There is no entry fee, semifinals or finals. All you're doing is bowling, regular price of bowl. Nice spare by Dave Richards. His first mark, and a good one, and we'll get another look at it.
A stubborn 9-pin, but there it goes. But people have to realize it's just practice. Go out, bowl 5 games in a semifinal, roll off, and if you're in the top 5, you advance to the finals for another 5 games. And if nothing else, you get a chance to bowl against some of these fellows who've been on the show before.
No, not quite for Dave. And the 10. 45 through 4. Glen Shattuck from Concord, New Hampshire. Glen works at St. Paul's School. He has a daughter, Alexis. And he does a lot of his bowling at a pretty fine establishment in Concord known as Boutwell's Bowling Center.
Great place. Ooh, the 5 and the 7 this time. Last time it was 5 and 10 for Glen.
Glen leads by 3 here in the early going.
Glenn, very deliberate, turns the ball over a little bit, breaks the ball from right to left. Four horsemen plus the 5 pin.
We begin the brand new year here on Stars and Strikes with one of our old friends sponsoring this series on the program, Emmett Horgan and the gang at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan right on Main Street, Route 97 in Salem, New Hampshire.
Dave Richards for his 5th and 6th frames. And he'll shoot at the 3 and the 6. Piece of wood there, but I don't think it's going to come into play. In fact, it's rolling off.
Ooh, Dave chops it.
Flush on the 3 pin. Drove it straight back. Ball missed the 6 pin.
Gets it that time for a 55 half in the opening game.
Both bowlers not consistently on the head pin with that first ball, which is the name of the game. You hit the head pin consistently with that first ball, then you start the score. Dave's looking at the 1, the 3, 7, and 10.
No.
Got the head pin that time, but again, too full.
And it's an 8 for Dave. Mentioned at the top of the show that we are halfway through the season in terms of qualifying bowlers for the, you believe it, the 6th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. And the 3 guys who are already safely in are Joe Ashline, Peter Flynn, and Mark Gregory. And one of the guys from this group is going to join them. Might want to start mentioning, too, that, oh, not quite for Glenn. The 6 pin hangs around. I want to mention, too, Dan, that beginning 4 weeks from today, which will be January 30th, we'll start our annual mixed doubles series here on Stars and Strikes, Sunday at noon. A little bit later on in the year, we're going to have something a little bit different, a bit of a surprise for you on our doubles program on Saturdays at noon. We'll tell you more about that as it gets a little closer.
Just missing the head pin.
But we can tell you that it'll be Candlepin bowling as you have never seen it on television before.
Absolutely.
Something completely new.
No one has ever done it, at least in this area. And
that's right.
Their minds are going crazy at home. What could that possibly be?
Called a tease. Dave Richards punches right through the center for the spread eagle. Dave trailing by 4 in the match.
Bowling with your opposite hand. Gets rid of the 3, 6, 10 on the right, 2, 4, 7 on the left.
And a nice 10 box.
Bowling blindfolded.
All these are good ideas,
That's
Dan,
right.
but not right.
He kicks out the 4 pin. Leaves himself the 3, 6, 10, and a nice piece of wood in between the 3 and the 6. Oh.
No. I think the wood may have prevented him from making that shot.
Said that was a nice piece of wood. However, you're right. I think it cost him the 10 pin.
Covers at that time. But 2 more open frames for Dave Richards and a chance for Glen Shattuck to add to his lead. Glen right on the head pin, but a little bit too much of it.
Yeah, it was crossing over into 1-2, and it was a little heavy.
talked about how Bob Kelly had a comfortable margin at the top of this series with a 33-pin edge in the number 1 spot over our number 2 seed Pat Pay, but the scores from that point on got very, very close. John Patorsky in the number 3 spot had a 660. Glen Shattuck had a 659. And then Dave Richards with a 656. And 2 bowlers were just 1 pin behind Dave. Tied for 6th with 655 were Gary Carrington and Rico Baldinelli, just missing the program by 1 pin. So you go from 3rd.
Oh, great try. Right around the 7-pin.
You go from 3rd to 7th, in essence. 5 bowlers just 5 pins apart in this roll-off. A 10 for Glen Shattuck. Take another look at that near spare.
Gets the 5 and the 10, and look at right behind the 7-pin.
Well, Glenn can't add to his lead. In fact, he lost a couple of pins on count, and it's down to 2 now. And Dave Richards with another spare lead.
Different contrasting styles right now, even though both bowlers are not on top of their game. Dave is attacking those pins a little more than Glenn, and that happens with the first time. I think you're very timid when you get on the lane on the show the first time, and you kind of ease up. I think Glenn usually throws a bit harder than he is right now.
Oh, nice pocket hit for Dave Richards, and how did the 10 pins stay up? It's a 9-drop.
Slid it, too, to the right. Got 2 pieces of wood in front of the 10-pin, and 2 more out in front. Watch out.
Oh. Dave thought he had missed that. He just got away with it. That's 112 plus a ball in the 10th. He did not want to hit the cap of that wood out front. And a 7-drop for a 119 for Dave Richards. That means Glen Shattuck will have to mark twice in order to keep the lead. Glen crossing over, and he'll be set up here on the 1, 3, and 7 with wood.
He's missing. He's usually missing to the left, and that is probably slowing the ball down, making the ball grab a little bit, giving it a little more time to break on him. He's got to use a little more speed to straighten it out.
He's waiting for that wood now. It appeared as though it were frozen against the 1 and 3, but now it's in between.
That time he feels himself leaving it to the left and left it way out to the right to try to compensate and missed the head pin to the right. It'll be 10, 95-9.
Coming up, we'll have details of our bonus ball contest. We have $60 up for grabs, along with some brand new bowling balls from Paramount Industries at the end of the show. So if you haven't sent in your postcards, well, you can't win then. I'll tell you how to do that right after this next break. Glen Shattuck looking for a mark in the 10th, then he can't carry it. So Dave Richards will have the advantage after game 1. It's a 10 for Glenn, a 105. He got that spare in the first, but nothing after that in game 1. The difference is 14. Dave Richards in the lead. Game 2, and details on the bonus ball contest coming right up. All right, before we get back to the action, a quick reminder about our bonus ball contest. $60 available at the end of this hour, and of course you could also win a brand new set of bowling balls from Paramount Industries in Medway, Mass, thanks to our good friend Bob Perella. But in order to win, you've got to send us your postcards, and make sure they're regular postcards only, please, with your name, your full address, and the number from 1 to 10. The number, of course, is the number of pins you think will drop on the bonus ball at the end of the show, thrown by our winning bowler. So be sure and mail those cards into Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And again, good luck. If you win the jackpot and whatever, or you win whatever's accumulated in the jackpot, and you win a brand new set of bowling balls, and the bowler will win a set also. But even if you just have your card drawn, you'll receive a nice gift from the wins and from the NHCBA. Glen Shattuck starting game 2.
Starting with the 4 horsemen, right, 1, 3, 6, and 10.
that close.
Boy. 1, 3, and 10. Just missing the 6-pin.
Mentioned Glenn had that mark to open the match, Dan, and he hasn't had one since. But as we watch this near spare on the Four Horsemen, in the 10 boxes he's rolled since that spare, he's had 8 10 boxes. So he's pinning well, even though he hasn't been getting the marks.
1, 2, 8, 10 to look at this time. No.
That's what he wanted to do, and it's a 9 box. Dave Richards now, Plastow, New Hampshire. Where he lives with his wife, Beth. Dave works at the distribution center for MVP Sports, and he thought he had a half Worcester there. He got a couple more.
Put up 2 fingers, but I guess he stole 2 more.
And there he gets 2 on the other side. Tough to work out of this sleeve for a good box. The 1, 4, 5, and 7, and he'll have to take a 7 box. Oh, we hope you send in your cards for the bonus ball contest. Give yourselves a chance to be part of the winning here on Stars or Strikes, but keep that pen and paper handy. As a little bit later on, we're going to be giving you another address for a little charity event that Dan and I are involved in here at Park Place Lanes, and we think you might have a little fun with it too. So keep your pen and paper handy, because we're going to be talking a little bit more about that later on in the hour. $10 for Dave. Ever since you and I did that show years ago, Dan, where we bowled against each other, people have been demanding when it would happen again. And this isn't exactly that, because we're not going to bowl on camera, but we are going to bowl against each other for charity.
Right. For charity.
That's right.
Four Horsemen right for Glenn, plus the 8-pin. Are we going to let them know when we're going to bowl, in case they want to come watch?
I think we're going to keep the location and time a secret.
Oh.
That's mostly for my benefit, of course.
In the dead of the night, we'll sneak out and...
Yeah, I'm going to call you at 2 in the morning. Okay, I'm ready.
Let's see. Oh, boy. Looks like he might have gotten a break there with domino effect on the left, but left the 7 and 10 pins. But he's got some wood to work with.
Yeah, the one good thing is that wood stayed out front a little bit. Let's see if it helps.
Oh, boy. Right in front of it.
Glenn's made some pretty good shots with no marks to show for them.
Continues to pin well, as you mentioned. 39 now through 4. Bad news, he hasn't had a mark since the first box. The good news for him is he's still only a dozen pins behind.
Dave Richards really hasn't been able to string anything together either, save for those 2 marks to end game 1. And Dave will shoot now at the 1 and the 9.
A couple pieces of wood behind the head pin, plus another one now rolling in between the 1 and the 9. He's got to catch the head pin. After that, he's got a good shot at making this one. No.
Still 12 pins, the difference. Dave Richards in the lead and in the center.
This is a strange match.
It really is.
Neither bowler can mount any kind of sustained offense.
How about that effort? Wow. That 4-pin just narrowly missed taking out the 2 for a spectacular spare. Dave does a lot of his bowling right here at Park Place Lane, so this is home lane advantage for him, this match. But it hasn't provided to be too much of an advantage yet. Still a tight match. Not too many marks so far between the two bowlers. 11 pins the difference. Dave Richards in the lead as we approach the halfway point here on Stars and Strikes. Here's Glen Shattuck. Battling a 13-box drought without a mark. But in those 13 boxes, he has 10 boxes. The winner of this match returns next week to face John Patorsky, and there is another 10-box, a rather unconventional one for Glen.
It just hasn't got the good rhythm yet. Halfway through the match, still fighting it. And finds the head pin this time, but full.
And a 9 this time. 58 through 6 without a mark. Very good. Just about as good as it can be. Only 2 pins less, but one of these bowlers puts a couple of marks together. This thing could be over. The way this match is going, there's another spread eagle. How many of those have there been in this hour? 4, 5?
You and I have a chance against these guys, Doug. It's one of those days. You never know in this game. Quarter of an inch either way. The difference between a strike and a spread eagle. That's a 7-box for Dave Richards, and now the lead is dropped below 10. Single numbers. 8-pin lead now for Dave Richards.
No. Here's a nice lead.
Hello.
4, 5, 6, 7, 10.
It's something like this that you think they're not going to make. They usually turn around and make the shot. Looks like he's going to have to take a piece of the wood and the 4 and 7 and see if he can get things to kick to the right. That's what he's trying.
Oh, he almost had it. The ball is still in the lane, and it may stay there. Cindy Sissom will have to go down and remove that. That ball is still on the plate, but it's not going anywhere. And Dave couldn't carry the 7-pin. Wow. Well,
I think he wanted to be just a tad further to the left. Good work for Cindy.
had to remove that ball without disturbing any of the wood.
She's taking it with her.
And Dave misses the single. Let's take another look at that.
A little more to the left, I think. That would have covered the 7-pin and still came that close for the spare.
So the lead is still 8 for Dave Richards. Glen Shattuck is in the pocket and carrying extra pins, but again, the extra pins may cost him.
7 and 10 again.
This wood may carry the 7. Let's see. No, it did, but not the 10.
You had to catch that front piece. One furthest to the right.
Nine box this time. You get the feeling there's going to be a sarcastic cheer from the crowd next time there's a mark.
This could be it. No. 2, 4, 6. Sounds easy, but it's not. Let's see if he's going to get some help with this wood rolling it next to the 6-pin. Now, still looks like he's got to grab the 2-pin. Well, try to get a piece of the wood at the same time. 2, 4 left.
Another 10 bucks for Glen. 77 through 8 without a mark. Dave Richards, 52 through 6 without a mark. There have been only 4 marks in this match, all spares. As you see, Dave has 3 of them. Well, once again,
Maybe
the extra pin.
Maybe that's the idea. Miss the head pin.
Well, carrying extra pins hasn't seemed to help so far in this match. Let's see what Dave can do here on the 9 and 10.
The two in the back are the ones he wants to try to play. He wants to try to avoid the front one, but I don't know if he can get by it. Yes,
oh,
he
yes.
does. Very nicely done. Avoided the front piece. Got the back two right there. Nice shot.
And a big first ball this time for Dave. Solid 9 drop, leaving the 5. And that boosts his lead up to 18 now.
Oh, gonna miss this one. You want to miss left because you got a lot of room to play with the left. 2 pieces of wood to the left. He's right on the 5 pin.
2 in a row for Dave. And this pretty much forces Glen Shattuck into putting something up here in the final 2. And again, he's off target.
Cant seems to get on the head pin with that first ball. And when he does, he's going through the middle. 1, 3, 8, and 10.
Nine. And finally, Glen Shattuck has a legitimate spare lead. Hasn't had many.
2, 4, 5. One that I hate.
Especially when you haven't made many on the day, and there's why.
Wow. Looked pretty good going down.
It's another 9 and a 95 for Glen Shattuck, a 2-game total of 200. Dave Richards, meanwhile, has pushed the lead up to 18 plus the fill here. Oh, and he pulled that one.
Oh, I get a big break, though. Big break off the head pin. 8-pin drop, 1 in the 3 left, trying to make it 3 in a row.
You're right, missed the head pin. That's the key. 3 in a row.
And now what would seem to be almost a commanding lead the way things are going. 27 in a ball.
On the head pin again, and this time he does not carry. How about that? He missed the head pin last time and took out 8. This time he hits the head pin and gets 2.
So 1 in the 9.
Well, this is going to keep the deficit under 30 for Glen Shattuck. 110 here in the middle game for Dave Richards. A 2-game total, 229, and there is the difference, 29. With 1 game to go here on Stars and Strikes, we're going to have some details about this special charity event that Dan and I are involved in. We'll fill you in on that in a minute. Well, here's that information now that we were talking about earlier. This is the 8th year that Nick Moskilly and the great staff here at Park Place Lanes have held a bowl-a-thon to benefit the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs. And this year, Dan and I are getting involved, and we'd like you to get involved too. Dan and I are going to bowl a 3-string match against each other with the proceeds going to the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs. And what we invite you to do is send your donation. You can do that in one of 2 ways. You can either send a check for a flat amount made out to Bowl-a-thon, or you can pledge an amount per pin and support either Dan or myself. And for instance, if
Go with Dan.
for instance, if you were to pledge a dime per pin and Dan were to roll a 300 for 3 games, then that would be a $30 donation. So be sure and do this when you send in your letter. Make sure it's addressed to Bowl-a-thon, and then either Dan or Doug, and then include your check if you'd like to just write a flat check, or the pledge of your amount per pin. Be sure and include your name and address, and send that into Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. After Dan and I hold the match, we will announce the results on the air, and of course, if you're pledging an amount per pin, we'll send you back a copy of the score sheet, and you can Boy, we're going to send out copies of the score sheet.
Ooh.
People are going to see it.
Of course, you should have went a little further. If you pledge 10 cents per pin for Doug, it means you'll have a pledge of $3.92.
Third game starting, and Dave Richards has a 9-drop. We'll be talking more about this in the weeks ahead. So if you missed any of that or you'd like more details on it, we'll be giving you a little more as time goes by. And Dave just barely carries that for the spare.
Great cause, and hope you all get involved with us.
Yeah, this is the 8th year that Park Place Lanes has hosted this bowl-a-thon for the Salem Boys and Girls Clubs, and they've raised over $100,000 already in the previous years. And we should mention that the bowl-a-thon itself is going to be on Saturday, January 29th. So if you'd like to be involved in person, you can stop by Park Place Lanes and get involved in the bowl-a-thon yourself. Dave Richards with 2 marks to start the third game, and he is putting the heat on right now. Leading by 29 already.
And no strikes in this match so far. And Glen's woes continue. Missing head pin to the left, 1, 3, and 7 pins left.
Oh my.
If it wasn't for bad luck, Glen would have no luck at all. Right around the 7 pin.
That is now 20 consecutive boxes without a mark for Glen Shattuck, but he has had some terrific shots. He hasn't had much to shoot at, but he's made some terrific attempts at spares. And he's got another split. This time the 3, 6, and 7. See if he can make something happen with this one.
Can you believe that? How did the 6 pin stay up? Figured his problem pin would be the 7 pin.
9 bucks this time for Glen. Dave Richards on a spare. Gets 7 again on the fill. Increasing the lead to 44.
And another very makeable spare. All he has to do is hit that wood, and
that's it.
It's gone. 3 in a row.
Second time Dave has had 3 marks in a row, and he now has 9 spares on the match. Got away with what looked like a full hit that time.
2, 4, and 10 pins left. Piece of wood rolling up now. You can see Dave kind of direct traffic a little bit. Still going to have to go after the 2 and 4, though. Didn't come out far enough for him. No.
Turned it over too much. And a 9, 60 through 4. Making it very tough for Glen Shattuck.
Oh, we haven't had him strike in the match. That's what Glen's going to be thinking about. But he's got to be on the head pin, and he just can't seem to find the right line.
Oh, how about that? Give Glen credit for one thing. He's kept his concentration on the 3rd ball. He's got an awful lot of 10 boxes in this match. But he needs marks, and there's a 9-drop. Now, what's the wood going to do?
What else? When things are going bad, it's going to stay right there.
Wow.
Let's go from bad to worse. That's a great shot right there, and he just couldn't hit it any better.
We'll take a timeout here on Stars and Strikes. Glen Shattuck with the 9. Dave Richards in the lead by 51, and we'll be back in a minute. Dave Richards now in the 5th, game 3.
Next week's challenger, John Patorsky, Paul's been with us just recently in the doubles show, correct?
That's right. From Franklin, Mass. After John, in the weeks to come, Pat Pay and Bob Kelly will be here. Some people were asking about Pat Pay not long ago.
Yes. In fact, I just had a bowler at my lanes ask me if he was still bowling. I said I haven't seen him, but lo and behold, here he is. Just ask.
Dave playing the inside and gets everything but the 10. And a 9 box. 3 marks in a row, now 3 9s in a row for Dave. Well, I'm sure everybody here, Dan, is rooting for Glen Shattuck at this point to at least string a couple of marks together, because he has deserved better. Some of the breaks he's had.
Get out of there, what? Probably just punch out the 2-pin now.
For the spare, yes. A lusty round of applause.
Yes. Well deserved.
First mark since the first box of the match. And now they're going to come in bunches. Look at this. A 9 drop. Glenn could use a few together, and he gets another one. He's saying Glenn's on a roll now. 2 in a row. Dave Richards mixing again. Well, that 8-pin will stay up.
It looks like if the wood to the right stays where it is, he'll have a shot at making all 3. Just wants to play below the red line. The only thing he's got to worry about is the ball becoming airborne and going through the 7 and 8 pins, not hitting those cluster of...
Oh, yes. Coming back across to get the 7 pin.
Was that the 10 pin that came across? Yes.
It was. Mark number 10. All spares for Dave Richards. And a spread eagle on top of it. Well, he almost made this earlier. That's at least 5 spread eagles we've had in this hour.
Still waiting for our first strike. I don't think we've ever gone through a whole match without a strike, have we?
I believe we have, actually.
Have we?
Yeah, doesn't happen very often. Ooh, 7 box.
Well, Glenn would have thrown a strike here and come back with another one.
That's right. That spare 4-7, of course, really negates the effect of the spare. So if Glenn were to keep it going here, he could make things interesting going down to the final 2 boxes.
Oh, off the head pin, gets the break.
Oh, look at that. He's saved up all his breaks for the last few boxes of the match here. For 3 in a row? Yes. I'll tell you what, a good fill on this one and another one.
He's got to be thinking strike. If there was going to be a strike in a match, Glenn would like it right now. No, off target again.
Just 4. Matching Dave's 4 fill. Not what he wanted.
You'd have to convert this one.
Well, Dave's going to come up with an opportunity to close Glenn out. The lead is 32 going into the final 2. And a big strike. There's the first one of the match. Comes in the 9th box of the last game. The penultimate box of the match.
Let's not get too excited. I think Dave thought he might have had a double there. Let's not push it, huh? Not many strikes today, so watch out next week.
Or would this be the penultimate? Sorry.
Oh,
I knew I'd be sorry as soon as I said. 9 box.
They're groaning in the truck, I know.
As well as at home.
Yes.
125 for Dave Richards.
The reason the crowd isn't groaning is I didn't hear it.
354 for Dave. So he didn't close Glen out, but that does. He needed all strikes. Glen could have won it if he had put some strikes together here in the final two. But instead, it will be Dave Richards to move on to face John Patorsky next week. The good news for Glen, though, is that he was able to at least put something together in this third game, although he's going to go out with another split here in the 10th. 6, 7, and 10. Love to see him snap this over.
And knock a few pins down when doing it. He snapped it over all right. He's been snapping it over all day, but they haven't been knocking anything down.
Yeah, that'll be an 8 for Glen, a 114, a 3-game total of 314. Dave Richards gets the win to start this new series here on Stars and Strikes. We'll be back to talk to the bowlers and have our bonus ball contest in a minute. And welcome back to Park Place Lanes here on Stars and Strikes. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. First appearance for Glen Shattuck. Not exactly what he wanted, but at least he was able to make up for some of that poor luck toward the end there.
Well, you can talk about that first box.
That's right.
That was a great shot, the first box. But yeah, it's one of those things. You get a little timid, and I think you hold back a little bit, then you fall behind, and you start pressing a little bit, and then shots just don't seem to go for you.
All right, let's talk to both of our bowlers. Let's first of all bring a round of applause up here for Glen Shattuck as he comes on up. We've got a check for $100 for Glen for fifth place prize money. I know this is not exactly how you wanted it to turn out, Glen. Slide right in here so we can get you on camera. Kind of a, well, let's face it, even when you were hitting them, they weren't falling for you.
Yeah, I wasn't hitting the head pin, and when I did, I didn't get too many breaks. The only best shot I made was the first box, and that was it the whole day.
But even still, boy, if you'd been able to just maybe get one more mark up there at the end, you still had a chance to put some pressure on Dave there.
Yeah, after that mark I got, I needed a big fill, and I left it out to the right and only got 4, and then that was the end of it after that.
Well, I know you worked long and hard to get here. Hopefully it won't take you as long to get back. We appreciate your persistence. Congratulations for getting here, and we hope to see you again soon.
All right.
All right, Glen Shattuck. And now Dave Richards on lane 31 for our bonus ball contest. We've got $60 on the line, as well as a couple of sets of brand new bowling balls from Paramount Industries. But in order to give all that away, we have to have a match. So we hope your postcard is here in the big TV. And Dave will try and give us a match here. Through the center, and it's a 5. See if you can get a 5 out of there.
5 cards, or?
One card will do it. Let's see. Oh, it's a wrinkled card, but not a match for Arthur. Well, how about Panthalides? I'll take a shot at that from Somersworth, New Hampshire. Not a match, Arthur. He guessed 8. So we'll be sending him a consolation gift from the Winds and from the NHCBA, and that means we'll be up to $70 next week. And Dave Richards will be back next week. Slide right in here, sir, and congratulations. That was kind of a grinder, that match.
Yeah, it wasn't that pretty at all. And Glen, I'll tell you, he wasn't getting any breaks off the head pin. And when he was getting the 9-pin drop, he was leaving a bad piece of wood. Or, you know, we were both punching out on alley 31, you know, going right through the middle. But I'll take it.
This home lane advantage we were talking about for you during the show, but boy, it didn't seem to be much of an advantage today. They were falling tough.
No, it's not quite a nice house to me today, that's for sure.
Well, I know you'll hope for better things next week. John Patorsky here next week.
Yes, he's a good bowler.
And we'll be looking forward to that one. Thanks, Dave. All right, congratulations. And let's spin you over to our ladder now so that you can catch yourself up to date in case you joined us late today. Again, Dave Richards, our number 5 seed, advancing with the win, 354 to 314. He will advance to the second week of our series against John Patorsky from Franklin, Mass. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, Dan, he's been here in doubles. First time he's been here in singles for a while, John. And he'll be the challenger next week.
Yeah, he's a good veteran bowler, so he'll give Dave a run for his money.
All right, don't forget, coming up Saturday at noon, we begin week 2 of this series here on Stars and Strikes. Of course, doubles on Saturday at noon, and then back here next Sunday at noon for Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Until next weekend, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew here at the Winds, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good week, everybody, and Happy New Year.